He was the outlaw of outlaws, the man who lived beyond the rules of Nashville. For decades, David Allan Coe held grudges that burned hotter than any spotlight. Fans knew him for songs that shook the country music world. But what most didn't know was the private list he kept close, a list of 7 musicians who had crossed him so deeply that forgiveness was impossible. Now, at 85, after years of silence, David Allan Coe finally revealed their names. Some were rivals, some former friends, and others were icons the public thought he admired. But behind closed doors, his feelings were raw, bitter, and unforgiving. These weren't petty disputes or friendly rivalries. This was hatred sharpened by betrayal, jealousy, and scars from the outlaw country wars. David Allan Coe's story was never one of easy acceptance. From the moment he set foot on Music Row, he was branded an outsider, a man too raw, too wild, too dangerous for Nashville's polished image. He had the voice of a convict, the soul of a poet, and the swagger of a man who'd stared death in the face more than once. But Nashville wasn't made for men like him. The labels wanted clean suits, clean reputations, and Coe had neither. Tattoos before they were trendy, prison scars, songs that cut too deep and too honestly. It didn't take long for whispers to turn into closed doors. Coe was good enough to write hits, his songs recorded by George Jones, Tanya Tucker, Johnny Paycheck, but his own career was sabotaged by executives who saw him as a threat. That created a wound deep inside him, a belief that Nashville stole his rightful place, and that he'd never forgive those who played along. In smoky bars and roadside diners, he watched as others, some less talented in his eyes, soared ahead because they played the game, shook the right hands, smiled at the right parties. Coe never played that game. He was too blunt, too honest, too unwilling to bow. What stung most was the hypocrisy. The very industry that dismissed him as too vulgar later embraced outlaws, Willie, Juan, and others, once it was profitable. They became icons, while Coe was pushed into the shadows. He respected some of those men, but deep down, he felt cheated out of his crown. From those years came the names that would fill his list. Some were singers who mocked him behind his back, others were powerful insiders who pulled strings to keep him out. To Coe, they weren't just rivals, they were thieves, stealing not just opportunities but pieces of his soul. Over time, that bitterness hardened. The first name he revealed shocked the country music world, Willie Nelson. To the public, Willie and Coe were often lumped together as outlaw pioneers, 2 men standing outside Nashville's control. But behind the scenes, Coe's bitterness toward Nelson never faded. It wasn't about talent. Coe respected Willie's songwriting and charm. What he hated was how easily Willie became the face of the outlaw image while Coe fought for scraps. In Coe's eyes, Willie played the game, smiling for cameras, doing duets, making deals with the very industry that spat on the outlaw idea. Coe believed that while he fought tooth and nail to prove outlaws couldn't be controlled, Willie slipped into the spotlight and reaped rewards without paying the same price. The wound deepened when Willie stood with Juan Jennings and Chris Christopherson to form the Highwaymen, a legendary outlaw supergroup, while Coe was left out entirely, a ghost in the movement he helped ignite. To Coe, that was betrayal. Rumors swirled that Willie never trusted Coe's unpredictable nature, his prison past and fiery temper seen as liabilities to the brand. Coe bled for the outlaw cause but was erased when history was written. For decades, Coe carried that resentment. When he finally spoke, he didn't sugarcoat it. He hated Nelson for being the smiling outlaw, the man who turned rebellion into merchandise, while Coe paid the price every day of his life. For fans, it was almost unthinkable. But Coe wanted the truth told before it was too late. He felt robbed, and Willie Nelson was at the heart of that theft. Life on the road was where Coe's anger sharpened, and where his rivalries grew into lasting hatred. Touring was supposed to mean freedom, endless highways, roaring crowds, raw connection with fans. But in reality, it was a battlefield. Promoters often paired Coe with other big names, and those shows became some of the ugliest chapters of his career. He never forgot nights when he was deliberately placed in the opening slot, below artists he believed he outshined. He resented singers who laughed behind his back, mocking his ex-con background, his leather jackets, his refusal to conform. One name burned in his memory: Merle Haggard. On stage, Haggard was beloved, a poet of the working man. But to Coe, Merle was condescending, dismissive, cruel. Coe felt Haggard looked down on him, treating him like a dangerous sideshow, not an equal. The tension boiled over during joint concerts, with Coe believing Haggard worked to overshadow him, demanding higher pay, rearranging set times, making sure promoters catered to him while Coe got scraps. To Coe, it was humiliation, and he hated Haggard for it. Barroom confrontations followed. Coe wasn't shy about his temper, and when musicians whispered he was a prison thug with a guitar, he faced them head-on. Some backed down, others didn't. Fists were thrown more than once. Those road rivalries painted a clear picture in Coe's mind. Nashville stars weren't just fellow artists, they were enemies trying to bury him. Every insult, every dirty trick, every stolen spotlight fueled his growing list. Coe said the road taught him who his enemies were. Away from cameras and suits, masks came off. He saw arrogance, jealousy, false smiles. And it hardened him further. This hate wasn't about bruised pride, it was survival. Each night on stage was a fight for existence in a world that never wanted him. When Coe revealed the second and third names on his hate list, fans were stunned. Number 2 was Garth Brooks, a name symbolizing a new generation. To most, Brooks reinvented country, filling stadiums with his blend of country and pop spectacle. But to Coe, Garth was everything wrong with Nashville: the corporatization, the slick packaging that buried raw emotion under smoke and pyrotechnics. Coe despised Brooks for turning country into a circus act. He never forgave the industry for crowning Brooks as country savior while ignoring the outlaws who risked their lives to keep the music authentic. Coe once snarled that Garth was the McDonald's of country music. His hatred wasn't just about style, it was principle. Brooks stole the genre's soul and handed it to corporate America on a silver platter. Number 3 was Kris Kristofferson, a surprise to many who assumed Coe admired the songwriter behind classics like Sunday Morning Coming Down. But to Coe, Kristofferson was Betrayal. While Kristofferson joined Willie, Juan, and Johnny Cash in The Highwaymen, Coe was shut out again. He saw Kris not as a brother-in-arms but as a gatekeeper who dismissed him as a roughneck without poetic depth. To Coe, that was hypocrisy. His own songs were as haunting and true as anything Kristofferson wrote. Being overlooked was one thing, but being dismissed by a peer was a deep wound. Naming Kristofferson wasn't just rivalry, it was pain. Being erased from history while others were lifted high. Together, Brooks and Kristofferson revealed the breadth of Coe's fury. It wasn't confined to one era or style. His hate crossed generations, friendships, and the very foundation of country music. He carried those names for decades, the venom simmering until he felt the world needed to know the truth. If there was one source of venom deeper than rival singers, it was the suits behind the scenes, the record executives, managers, and promoters who pulled the strings. When Coe spoke about them, the anger was nearly unbearable. He saw them as cowards in ties, men who never wrote a song, never stepped on stage, never lived the life, yet controlled the fate of those who did.